G'day legends, thanks for joining us and welcome back to another episode of The Hungry Hunter. Today we're cooking up these meaty chunks of goodness. We've got barbecue venison ribs with a side of potato salad. So without further ado, we'll get into it.
Food is so much more than just what you put in your mouth. It's a connection to both the land and the sea and the animals we hunted to acquire it. This show is dedicated to sharing that lifestyle with you. We'll be sharing simple tips and tricks as well as our favourite recipes for wild game and seafood feasts. Cooking both out in the field and in the comforts of our kitchen at home. Welcome to Hungry Hunter. This season of Hungry Hunter is proudly supported by Dog and Gun Coffee, makers of bloody good coffee, ready for adventure.
Alrighty, so the longest component cooking wise today is our venison ribs. We've got a pot of boiling hot water behind us, so we're going to chuck all these venison ribs in there, let them boil away for about 2 hours, and then we'll come back and begin with our other components of the recipe. Alrighty, so that's our venison ribs on. We're going to do the exact same thing. We've got another pot of boiling water behind me to my left. What we're going to do is chuck these potatoes in because they're going to need about 15 minutes of cooking time, and then we'll come back. Alrighty, so that's both our venison ribs and our spuds on to boil. So what we'll do next is we'll get started with our barbecue sauce, which we're going to make from scratch today. So we're going to grab a nice big mixing jar. To that we're going to add our brown sugar, some Worcestershire, some garlic, some pepper, some smoked paprika, some salt, some apple cider vinegar. We've got about 1.5 cups of diced tomatoes. And then to finish that sauce off, we've got some honey. Alrighty, beautiful. So that's all the components of our barbecue sauce added. I'm just going to grab a spoon, and what we'll do is we'll give that a good stir, grab the bacon, and we'll go over to the cooktop. I'm just going to add a little drizzle of oil to each. I'll add our sauce. That's our barbecue sauce on now. It's looking really nice, but what we want is for this to, for the next 10 or so minutes, just cook down. Alrighty, and at the same time, we're gonna add our bacon to this pan. Gonna let this bacon cook away, get a nice brown coating for that potato salad. We've got our venison ribs on here, and these potatoes boiling away nicely, which will be done in about 5 to 10 minutes. So everything's looking good here. I'm gonna test these potatoes as it should be cooking time complete. Yep, that's perfect. The fork goes in them beautifully. They're done. I'm going to turn that heat off and we'll transfer them over to the sink and let them cool down. So that's our bacon and sauce also complete. So I'm just going to turn these guys off. So that's going to be perfect for our potato salad. This is all good, ready to go with those ribs. All we've got left is for that to sit for probably another 1.5 hours or so. So I'll take this back over and we'll get everything set up over here. We'll get started on our dressing. So we're going to add some mayonnaise, some olive oil, some whole grain mustard, and our cut up spring onion. So that's our ingredients for the dressing. We're just going to combine that now with a spoon. So that's ready, so I'm just going to sit it aside. In the meantime, I'll grab this bowl, just adding our potatoes to the mixing bowl. Now we'll grab our bacon. Beautiful, we'll add our celery, the rest of our spring onion. We'll give that a little bit of a mix, just being gentle. Alrighty, so that looks great. And now lastly, we're just going to add our dressing. Giving that a good mix and then taking it straight over to the fridge to cool down. That looks absolutely awesome. You can see it's going to be quite an indulgent salad, but it's going to be quite rich, and sort of that barbecue flavour of the ribs is really going to cut it. The whole grain mustard in there is looking great. Everything's combined well. So what I'm going to do is set that aside, and I'm going to go and put this straight in the fridge. So that clock's been ticking away. What I'm going to do now is turn off our ribs, bring them over and just check how tender they are and make sure that they're done. These have been going for a couple of hours now, so they should be perfect, nice and tender. What I'll do is I'll just grab some tongs and do a bit of a test. That bone's sliding there, as you can see. So I'm just going to leave that in. That's nice and tender, that's perfectly cooked. So what I'm going to do is just take those over to the sink and I'll strain them. You can see on them, they've actually got quite a lot of meat. Like, they look quite small and everything. Once they've shrunken down, become quite tender. But you can obviously see there's a lot of meat there. There's about 1 inch or so of meat. Alrighty, so those ribs are drained now. So what I'm going to do is just gently lay them across this pan in preparation for the sauce. So as you can see, that's our meat all cooked. Everything's ready to go. We've got the oven on behind me, so I'm just going to give these a good drizzling of the barbecue sauce and get them in the oven to get nice and brown. Alrighty guys, moment of truth has arrived. I've just checked on those ribs, they're all nice and glazed over. So what I'm going to do is grab that out of the oven and we'll begin to plate up. I'm really looking forward to this. There they are, that's our barbecue ribs. These smell seriously good. You can really smell that tomato-y sort of sweetness coming through. You've got the brown sugar in there which is caramelised nicely. What I'll do is, to begin, I'll grab a nice heaped spoon of our potato salad. This is nice, rich and creamy. It's going to complement these ribs perfectly. It's nice and cold at the moment as well. Place that there. And then gently with the tongs, what I'm going to do is just grab a rack of our ribs. They look awesome. That's our ribs done. To finish, I'm just going to get some of this parsley, give it a rough tear. Just sprinkle some of that over our ribs. And there you have it. That's my barbecue venison ribs with a beautiful creamy potato salad. You've got the whole grain mustard in there, which is going to give it a bit of a twang. And that's nice and cold, ready to go with our boiling hot ribs. Get stuck into it.